So Lee, what looks, or looking at history books, as a fairly conventional end of season 4-1 roll up against Ross County, nice wee workout, but when substitute Jordan White banged in, well, it was a banger that he banged in the 72nd minute, it didn't look too clever, did it?
It didn't, but I think the players deserve a lot of credit for that tonight. Manager as well. I think there was a real end of season feel to it, as you say. I think we sat down, on the stands. Even there was a few empty spaces tonight, which is understandable. It's been a massive month. It's been for everyone. The players could have been forgiven for maybe looking after themselves a little bit with such a huge week coming up. But credit to them. I think it took Ross County 5 minutes to even touch the ball, and even at that, it was a deflection that went wide for a corner. They came into it in the second half. Undoubtedly, we took our foot off the gas, and when Jordan White scored that goal, I'm sure that was a special moment for him, because I think we remarked that's he's a big Rangers fan. Brilliant goal, and for a couple of minutes after it did look to get a little bit sticky, but thankfully we'd already made some pretty good substitutions ourselves. The guys that came on, I thought they'd done really well. So huge credit to the players, the full squad tonight, the manager, and another good win to sign off the season at Ibrox.
The first half, despite the fact that there was a goal from Scott Wright and a penalty from Tav, looking at my notes, it seems to have been the Joe Aribo show, who was subsequently substituted at half time. He seems to be back on form, and he was looking good tonight, both making chances and taking them.
Well, he's adapted to that role really well. I think when we spoke after the semi-final, we spoke about Joe's turnaround in form. First half of the season, it looked like, by all intents and purposes, he was the best player in the country by head and shoulders. I think I remember back at one press conference, someone mentioned another player for man of the match, and even the manager remarked, not Joe Aribo. That's how many times his name had been mentioned. Of course, it was well documented that he fell out of form a little bit after the African Cup of Nations. Something's happened in that time. Massive return to form from him. He's been asked to do a different role. If Kamal Roof doesn't make it next week, and we don't have that recognised striker, then I think Joe Aribo's probably made that position his own. His movement, the way he shields the ball, the way he brings others into play, invaluable asset. It just shows you how good a player he is when he can play so well in different positions. Probably disagree with you a little bit though. Like I know that, Lowry's had a good game and he got man of the match. I just thought Lundstrom again was just a complete standout. The way he's speaking, the way he's driving. There was a point in the first half when he was screaming at young Lowry, and I just thought, that's what epitomises a Rangers player. As you've said yourself, it was almost like a dead rubber tonight, but not for Lundstrom. That wasn't good enough. He was putting everything into that game tonight, and he took a standing ovation when he was taken off, rightly so.
I have to say, the wee wry smile with Lundstrom, because he's obviously become a crowd favourite, and it was a little bit like Ali. I mean, this evening he had a shot which was never going in, was never on target, it was a bit weak, and people are poor John. So the crowd.
Well, he can do no wrong at the moment. He can do no wrong at the moment, the big man, and I'm pleased for him because he was completely written off. We remarked during the match that we have got a tendency of doing that as a support, but even for those of us that are really positive, at points you were thinking, where is this going to go for this player? That there didn't look like a way back for him at one point. He was being made that scapegoat during games. Even when he was having good games, I felt that was sometimes getting overlooked. And again, he's completely flourished under the new manager. It has to be said though that he had turned things around under Steven Gerrard. Fell out of favour a little bit, but he's come back and cemented that place, and he's one of the first names in the team sheet now.
We also saw today quite extensive use of substitutes. Obviously, Gio's using that, very deliberately using that to give people time to suss them. Got a couple of guys in the squad, Scott Wright, whom I like, Basham Sakala, whom I like, but they're just lacking that little bit of finish. And tonight we saw Basham sky a few, also surprisingly scored with a header, which was a beauty. Where would you say that our options are now up front, looking at the 2 cup finals?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's about who's going to be fit. It's about who's going to play their way in. I mean, I don't see Sakala starting. Certainly won't start next week. I think that the one player who maybe had a little chance would be Scott Wright. I think that'll fully depend on Kemar Roof's fitness. That's not me saying for 1 second that I think he definitely will start. I just think when you look at the games recently where he's come on, so there was a game away from Motherwell where we played that front 3. Of course, the sending off meant someone had to get taken off. And Diallo was that man that came off. Scott Wright then puts in arguably a man of the match performance, scores a goal. He plays against Celtic and has a very, very good game at Hampden. It can't be denied. He was really direct. He then plays the semi-final, and I think he probably lost his way a little bit in the game. So he was given that, but he was given that trust from the manager. So it's quite clear the manager does trust him in a big game. I think he's in contention, but a lot will depend on the fitness of Kemar Roof. I think if Roof starts, it's unlikely that either of those players play from the start. Will we see them in the Scottish Cup final? Every chance. I think Scott Wright's proven that he can be useful on the big stage. Sakala's proven that he can find the net, although he has got that rawness, drifting offside, skying the shots. But he has put himself in these positions, and as you say, he pops up with headers, which for someone his size is quite interesting in itself.
On the other wing tonight, we had Amad Diallo coming on, and I thought he did very well. I've been a great fan of his actually since his debut at Ross County, where he scored. He was taking on people. You could say a little bit of a show pony, but I think that's been quite cool. But tonight he was good, and his goal I thought was, you had the build up was Fashion, Sakala, Lowry, cross from Bassey and Diallo. So if you look at the 4 involved in that, you've got Fashion, Lowry and Diallo. 10 minutes to go in a final. If it's nothing each, you've got something to work with there, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think so. The manager just spoke about it. We spoke to the manager there. He's saying that it's great that these guys are finding a little bit of form at the right time of the season. I totally agree. It does give them that bit of urgency, and I think when you talk about that sort of rawness, the good thing about a player being raw like that is that they're also fearless. Diallo just doesn't care. He'll run at anyone. I agree with you. I thought he'd done really, really well at Ross County. He was then really, really unlucky in the aftermath at Celtic Park. The manager got it wrong that night, as several of the players did. He was made one of the scapegoats, which was really, really unlucky. He's then been completely out of favour, but since he stepped back in, I think in recent weeks, as we spoke about just a second ago, the game at Motherwell, he was really, really unlucky to be taken off. I think it was the right decision on the day, and it was vindicated by the performance of Scott Wright, but it looked like he was going to have a real go that day. Anytime he's came on recently, he's looked very lively. He's the sort of player that I would like to see back next season again. Give him another crack at it.
The manager also mentioned in his post-match press conference that injuries to Kemar Roof and Ryan Jack seemed to think the injury to Kemar was worse than Jack's. He's kind of hedged his bet or been some wishful thinking there. But the two of those, in particular Jack, I think Jack's, when he's on form, he's the type of player other people play to and through.
Yeah.
How much of a bonus to get him back?
It's huge. I'm a huge Ryan Jack fan. I've banged the drum for him before he joined. I think when we signed Ryan Jack, there was that little bit of snobbery that we can sometimes show as Rangers fans. We're not going to win anything with Aberdeen players. Was the message that I kept reading. I think he proves just what he gives to the team when he's not there. What I would say is that we have now got guys like Lundstrom in unbelievable form. Kamara has come back into a game. We've got Stephen Davis back, who's another option. Ryan Jack missing would be a blow. Not a massive disaster for him as a player, because I think he deserves it. He's had huge issues with injury, really, really unlucky. I think missing that recognised striker is more of a blow in terms of the team, and that isn't any disrespect to someone like Ryan Jack. I think he's a class operator. He'll definitely be in contention to start the game. However, we do have very capable replacements. Whereas up front, yes, we have capable replacements, but we're looking at guys that are going to be playing out of position, which makes it a bit more tricky.
And just lastly, we've got Hearts at the weekend, and after that it's the Europa Cup final. Now, do you expect Gio to tighten up in his formation, his selection, and maybe even the number of subs he uses, or do you think he'll still try to give everybody, you know, a good half, 60 minutes?
Yeah.
But how do you think he'll approach that?
It's an interesting one. You know, he's made it clear in the post-match press conference to expect changes at the weekend. I think we will see, you know, maybe a similar lineup to that of Dundee United. Those supporters that are looking for guys like Tavernier and Goldson to be wrapped in cotton wool, it's just not going to happen. They play, that's what they do. They play every game. I think I fully expect Tavernier to lead the team out at the weekend. I fully expect to see the likes of Goldson in there. I do expect it to be rotated though. You know, I think tonight the starting lineup probably did surprise a few people. The way that the team came out the traps surprised a few people. We were chatting about it and there, you know who predicted 4-1 tonight. I don't think anyone would have. Really good performance. But the changes, you know, when they came, you know, it was quite obvious that he was thinking ahead for next week. He was wrapping people in cotton wool. Guys like Lundstrom coming off and getting that break. I think we'll see something very similar at the weekend. But those that do play, I think we will see a lot of urgency again. You know, that as you said yourself, there's guys there that are very close, maybe chapping on the door, and you never know what can happen in football. You know, a week to go, it just takes someone to get a knock, and then you could be starting in the Europa League final. So what a chance for some of these guys.
So, we come at the end of the season, last home game at Ibrox, and I presume the next time we'll see you'll be in a Barn Seville.
Well, I hope so, and or maybe in the streets after it, you know, celebrating us bringing that cup home. I've said already, this one feels a little bit different to Manchester, where we were probably just happy to be there. I think with this one, we all believe that we can do it. The players believe they can do it. The manager certainly believes. All of us just need to keep believing that we come back with that trophy.
And with that, thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much.